John, these are emails that show Jeffrey Epstein mentioning Donald Trump by name multiple times in private correspondence that he had with people, including Ghislaine Maxwell, obviously his longtime associate and accomplice, and also the author Michael Wolff, in a time span of about the last 15 years or so in these emails. Now, these are coming out from the House Oversight Committee. They had issued a bipartisan subpoena to Jeffrey Epstein's estate, John, as you know, earlier this year. And so they've gotten their hands on a trove of documents. And these are emails that included Jeffrey Epstein on them. They were sent either to him or from him that mention Donald Trump before he was in office and also while he was in office during his first term. And I want to walk you through these emails of what exactly we are reading in Jeffrey Epstein's own words.
Folks, the moment we've been waiting for has finally come to an end. 23,000 Epstein files. Yes, you heard that right. 23,000 confidential documents have just been turned over to Congress. And what's inside those files could shake the entire political establishment to its core. Democratic Oversight Committee ranking member Robert Garcia just confirmed that he has received the full set of documents directly from Epstein's attorneys. And he's now vowing to release even more of them to the public starting today. This isn't speculation anymore. It's happening.
Congressman, when did you get this information?
We actually just received all of these emails, with a total of about 23,000 documents, actually a few days ago, so last week. And we've been going through, our team, of course, through all of these very carefully over the last few days. We obviously released some today. We'll be releasing additional documents likely later today. The important thing here is that we know, and we've been demanding, that Donald Trump and the DOJ release the full Epstein files. In what's been released today, which obviously is some quite serious, I think, connections between what Donald Trump may have known. There's communication between Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, obviously making some claims about Donald Trump spending significant time, hours, with possibly one of the victims. There's also disturbing emails there about Trump and Jeffrey Epstein that people can read for themselves. I think what's important right now is that we want to know why Donald Trump spent the entire campaign saying that he would release the files. And now that he's in the White House, there is a massive cover-up going on. The survivors deserve the truth.
For years, the American people have been asking the same question. Why hasn't the Department of Justice released the full Epstein case files? Why has every attempt to uncover the truth been buried under national security excuses and sealed court orders? Well, now we know. These files were sitting in the hands of people who never wanted you to see them. And here's where things get even darker. This latest revelation completely blows apart the narrative pushed by Pam Bondi and other political insiders who swore that there was nothing left to see. They lied. Point blank, these 23,000 documents are proof that the DOJ knew far more than they ever admitted, and that Bondi's statements were nothing but a cover-up to protect powerful names. Garcia has already hinted that the new batch includes communications between Epstein's inner circle and multiple sitting officials, along with sealed financial transfers and private flight manifests that were never supposed to surface. In other words, the walls are closing in, and for the first time, the full truth about who was involved and who helped cover it up might finally come to light.
Another Epstein bombshell: newly released emails from Jeffrey Epstein to Ghislaine Maxwell revealed that he claimed Donald Trump spent hours at his house with one of his alleged victims, and even said Trump knew about the girls. But it gets darker. In another exchange from 2015, Epstein was tipped that Trump would be asked about his relationship in a presidential debate, and he asked Trump biographer Michael Wolff if they could craft an answer for Trump as if he wanted to help Trump spin the truth. These messages, obtained by Robert Garcia and House Oversight Democrats, were part of the 23,000 documents subpoenaed from the Epstein's estate. Trump's White House once claimed that he banned Epstein from Mar-a-Lago for being a creep, but Epstein's own words tell a way different story. It says that Trump knew exactly what was going on. The question now is, what else is still being hidden in the files, and why does Trump's name keep showing up? Today shows I think we know the answer.
And the craziest part? This isn't just about Epstein anymore. It's about the network that protected him, the politicians who enabled him, and the agencies that turned a blind eye for decades. Garcia's next move could blow the lid off one of the most tightly guarded secrets in modern American history. And as for Pam Bondi, well, after this, there's no spinning it. The files speak louder than her lies ever could. And the Democrats aren't sleeping on this, not for a second. They're digging deeper, pulling thread after thread, and what they're uncovering is starting to rattle some very powerful people. Every new document, every name that pops up, every hidden connection, it's all beginning to form a picture that the establishment hoped would never see daylight. And right in the middle of it all, our friend Caitlin Collins. She's out there doing what most won't, exposing the truth, piece by piece, even as Trump publicly lashes out at her. He's called her names, mocked her on live TV, tried to discredit her. But she's still standing, still reporting, and still putting the facts out where everyone can see them.
Jeffrey Epstein says, and I should note, Trump did not send or receive any of these messages. He's not a party to these emails, John, but these are emails from Jeffrey Epstein to Ghislaine Maxwell. This is one from April 2nd, 2011, and in this email, Jeffrey Epstein writes to Ghislaine Maxwell and says, quote, "I want you to realize that the dog that hasn't barked is Trump. There's a name that's redacted, which the House Oversight Committee has said is a victim of Jeffrey Epstein's. Obviously, we have not been able to independently confirm that because her name is redacted from this email. But they say redacted spent hours at my house with him. He has never once been mentioned, police chief, etc. I'm 75% there." Ghislaine Maxwell responds to that email, John, and says, quote, "I have been thinking about that." Now, there's no context for that message in this release of what we're getting. Obviously, this was a time span, and this was about 3 years after Jeffrey Epstein had accepted what is now known as that sweetheart deal that only got him a few months in prison, and something that came under a ton of scrutiny during Donald Trump's first term in office because of his then Labor Secretary, Alex Acosta, who helped negotiate that plea deal, that sweetheart deal, for Jeffrey Epstein at the time. And so that's the context of this came about 3 years after he had negotiated that plea deal, John. And there's also other emails that have been released by the committee this morning, including between Jeffrey Epstein and Michael Wolff. People will remember Michael Wolff, of course, the author who wrote a book on the inner workings of Trump's West Wing back in 2018 during his first term. He is someone who has talked at length about his own correspondence with Jeffrey Epstein, published audio recordings of those conversations between the two of them. And in another email, and this seems to be a reference to Donald Trump saying that he kicked Jeffrey Epstein out of his Mar-a-Lago club, and Jeffrey Epstein writes to Michael Wolff and says, quote, "Trump said he asked me to resign." And he adds, John, "Never a member ever. Of course, he knew about the girls as he asked Ghislaine to stop." Now, again, we don't have the context of this email, but John, that comes as in recent months, we've heard President Trump himself and the White House say that Jeffrey Epstein was kicked out of Mar-a-Lago for being a creep. And Trump himself told reporters on Air Force One that he was trying to poach women, he and Ghislaine Maxwell, from the Mar-a-Lago spa. And that was why they had such a falling out and why he ultimately asked Jeffrey Epstein to leave the Mar-a-Lago club.
And the funniest part in all of this? The Republicans are still clinging to that old fairy tale that Trump somehow kicked out Epstein because of his behavior. Meanwhile, the evidence is screaming from every corner of these files. If that story were true, there'd be no reason for the GOP to hide the Epstein documents all these years. No reason to block release after release, to twist the narrative, to build another illusion for the cameras while pretending to play dumb behind closed doors. But that illusion is cracking now. It's over. The game they've been playing in the shadows is coming to an end. These 23,000 files aren't just pages of paper. They're a ticking clock, and it's only a matter of days before the truth lands right in our hands. So get ready, because when these files go public, it won't just expose names. It'll expose the system. And trust me, you're going to want to see this unfold in real time. So hit that like button, subscribe, and stay tuned, because the moment the evidence drops, we'll be here breaking down every single detail they tried to bury.